All right, speaking of investment, this is something I want to talk about that I don't think most people would know about you and your 20-year career in design, because I sort of look at design companies not just by the design that comes out, it's the designers that come out of a design environment. And during successive waves of your company, you've had some of the best designers that I've ever seen, and still think that you've produced some of the best designers in North America, certainly. Alex Salovich, Chad Hagen, Robin May, going way back, Matt Eller, David Schrimpf, Ben Levitz. You can keep going, keep going, keep going. And you look at all the companies that they produced, almost all of them started their own company. I mean, almost all of them started their own firm. Yeah. And people don't probably associate that necessarily with the Thorburn Group, but it's a reality. So in a very real way, to me, you've been a design educator for 20 years, even though you don't teach, or you don't say you're teaching. You've been making designers. And there's a real elite group that does that. I mean, that's, Joe Duffy does that. Chuck Anderson does that. You do that, and not many more that I can name quickly. That every 2 years, excuse me while I burp, every 2 years there'll be a Steve Yokish that emerges from your stable, or an Alex Salovich or a Chad Hagen. So you probably aren't comfortable describing this, but there's a reason why you do this, and I would put it back to kind of the old journeyman apprenticeship relationship, where you make these apprentices into journeymen and then they move forward. Is that something you're going to continue to do, or is it something you do deliberately, or is it just something that just kind of happens?
Well, I think it just kind of happens. I mean, I guess I could say it was deliberate, but you know, and the list goes on. You know, Patrick Miller, who went out and started Fail.
Sure. He was your guy?
I hired him as an intern. Most of these guys,
no kidding,
I hire them. They come in as interns.
Oh God, I didn't know that.
David Schwinn, who's now the design director at Fallon.
The Fail, for those who don't know, Fail. I'm so into Fail. I was at a print show for Mickey Smith, and who's been a friend of mine for 20 years out in New York, and Fail had a bunch of prints there, and my God, A, they're gorgeous. Yeah. B, they captured New York. I mean, they actually captured Manhattan. Well, they rented. I'm gonna get the story wrong, but they rented like a warehouse. Yeah. Did a completely off gallery sale. They actually they really upset the apple cart in New York about just. I love the Peppers chewing on something right now. They upset the apple cart in New York in the art world, and they did what the best revolutionaries do. They just ignored everything.
They are amazing, and I Patrick, when he worked with us, we had to kind of keep him on flexibility, because he would go out and he would do his wheat pasting, you know, and him and the other Patrick would go to like Singapore, you know, and he'd get arrested, you know, and he'd come back, you know, 3 days later and with these great stories. God, and that's awesome. Yeah,
congratulations for not firing him. Gee, I mean, that's the best.
I went to New York, and saw that show, and actually I'm going next week, and I'm going out to a studio in Brooklyn.
Wow. Well, extend to him. There's a big fan base here, and I look forward to meeting him one day, because I love his prints. I love their prints a lot, but what I love more than anything else is that they took the absolute best thing that happens in the Minneapolis world, like the Minneapolis poster world, that produces like aesthetic apparatus and burlesque and all those guys, and they just said, no, screw it, we're going to take over New York, and they did.
Well, you know,
they just did it.
It's kind of interesting, as you're seeing advertising going more towards design. Design is going more towards art, and you know, whether it's Ryan,
why not,
or Fail, or you know, Obey.
Serpent Fairy,
or Swoon, you know, or
I'm not familiar with Swoon, so I got to check that out.
Ellis, you know, and you know, these young kids that grew up as designers, which is great. I mean, for me, I've never taken a design class. I was trained as a fine artist, and
where'd you go to college? Just so you can say.
Minneapolis College for Art and Design, MCAD.
Great school.
Yeah, and you know, it was during a time of Scott Makela. And you know, you look at the guys that have come out of there, you know, Chuck Anderson and of course Patrick Miller and
Dan Olson,
and
Alex
and you know, they've just been. I think ID Magazine pegged them as one of the top 10 design institutions or colleges in the United States. You know, right up there with Cooper Union and Pratt and Cal Arts and Cranbrook, and so they've really done a good job at it. But as far as as far as it goes, I mean, you know this as an owner, you just try to get the best talent, and you try to create a culture that people just excel at, and they do their best work, and they're, you know, I mean, we constantly say career best, and we try to inspire and push and challenge and elevate and create a standard that everybody comes in and participates in, and
make a place where people want to come to work. Like, you make a place where they want to come to work. They would rather come to work than go bowling. You know, like get them to that level.
Yeah,
where you'd rather go to work than maybe go bowling that day. Like, it's that much of an investment.
Well, you spend so much time there. You know? You gotta. I mean, you got to enjoy it. And yeah,
but it's not an accident to me that of course now that I hear that the fail guy came from you, or the fail guys came from you, because it's very hard to make an environment where that kind of folks can thrive and feel like they're welcome there.
Well, Travis Olson. I mean, the names go on, and are you
gonna have a reunion anytime soon?
Yeah, you know, we were thinking about kind of having a, and actually I was thinking about as kind of our announcement into the Thorburn group, doing a poster series. Yeah. And going back and kind of friends and family from the past, present, and future. That would be
you know,
nice. there's a half a dozen designers out there that I can't wait to hire. Yeah. You know, as we grow and
maybe called a pro union or something like that, or not but go forward or something. Or you should have. You really honestly.
It's like Ellis Island.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A return, like a right of return, like you extend a right of return to all these people for a weekend or something. But you really should have some kind of reunion just to bring all those people back together. Duffy did that, you know, when he chloroformed his last version of the company with Fallon and then started a new place, which I have to, without reservation, the best work in their 25-year history has been done in the past 5 years, or the past 3 years, in my opinion.
And everybody's coming back to work with him again.
Yeah, everybody. He just put a big magnet outside, and everybody came back to it.
Well, and as much as we love advertising, I think being independent for Joe, and we're feeling this too. There's a lot of smiles around our group. These days, is that there's a nice sense of freedom of just being able to do what we do. And free to do it in our way, the way we do it, and celebrate it. And I think, you know, the contribution, you know, we can make, you know, with other disciplines is important. But it's really that freedom to be a design group. And, you know, there's a culture and there's a vibe, and there's a dedication and there's a passion that people come in with every day, and just to celebrate that, man. I mean, that's what the Thorburn Group represents, and you know, I think there's also another spirit out there which I think is perfect for the times we're in. Is I'd rather be a canoe than a battleship. Yeah. and you know, being able to paddle that canoe and turn it and change it and evolve it, and you know what, and